Okay, welcome to the July meeting of the East St. Peter Sewer Authority. I'd like you to join us in the pledge of the American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, in attendance today is Charlie Thomas, Matt Cici, Ralph Hutchison, members Brent Stallstu, Todd Stump, myself, Rick Robinson, and Vinny Patel. And we've had the minutes for a couple weeks now. Is there any additions or corrections? If not, they're going to stand approved as written. Go to the treasurer's report.
Rick, we have a checking account balance of $15,482.71.
Okay, do we have any sanitary sewer bills?
We do. Check number 487 to HRG in the amount of $1,308.21. Check 488 to Nicholas and Hohanadel in the amount of $1,833.50. And checks numbers 489 through 492 to the four members present in the amount of $25 each, for a grand total of $3,241.71.
Any requisitions?
We have two requisitions. The first is requisition number 03581. This is payable to Herbert Law Group Inc. for the South Run Pump Station design, as well as the State Route 3132 bridge replacement school relocation design. Total amount is $5,759.50. The second is requisition number 03-582. This is payable to Fulton Bank, care of the City of Lancaster. This is for the wastewater treatment plant, chlorine scrubber escrow agreement. So the escrow agreement, amendment number 1. That is in the amount of $12,691.
Do you have any stormwater bills?
We do have several checks on the stormwater fund. Have that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 9 checks total, which would total the amount of $11,914.92.
Okay, looking for a motion to pay the bills and requisitions for both the sanitary sewer and the stormwater.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, under old business, sanitary sewer, Stauffer Run upgrade. Any other old business? Under sanitary sewer. Old business under stormwater, Greenfield Road easement agreement.
Okay, I forwarded everybody a copy of the easement agreement. I think it was about a week or two ago. This is for the JEL property along Commerce Park for the stormwater installation along Amtrak. The agreement has been finalized with the property owner and signed, and it's before the board to sign and execute to get recorded so the project can move forward. We also do have the check to give to the property owner for the assessment of the easement. Is that anything else?
Not related to that, I mean, just for placement of this location, if you can remember the design, it goes pretty straight parallel to Amtrak. And then this building is very close to the Amtrak right of way. So we have to go around, we have to go into the Amtrak right of way to get around the corner of the building. So this one was a little more complicated because of making arrangements to make sure that the building wouldn't be impacted by the construction. So provisions are included in the easement agreement related to that.
We did secure the easement agreement with Amtrak approximately about a year and a half ago. So that's in place already too. Once you can talk to somebody. Once we met with them, they were fine.
The contractor might, but.
Yeah, the contractor will have to, or get a hold of.
Did you really?
I think the contractor, when I was working with a contractor before, they had a crossing guard on site at all times. Just to let you know a train was coming.
We're not really close to the tracks. You know, it's down, significantly downgrade from the tracks from distance away. So
Yeah, I think it's a total of 35 feet in a structure through their right of way.
it's not much.
So if I could just ask for approval of this for signature, we'll get that recorded then.
Okay. Favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
If I can, the other thing I would say about the project is that the easement along Greenfield Road, adjacent to Greenfield Road, that property, which is 160 Greenfield Road, was acquired through the condemnation process. So that proceeding is completed, and you had approved that some time ago. We do need to transmit the appraised value to the owner related to that condemnation. So we'll probably be preparing a check, and we might call two of you to come in to sign that check so that we can complete that process between meetings. But it's $8,600, which was the appraised value. Unfortunately, that property owner continues to be, non-communicative, and so Charlie and I are a little concerned about what happens when we have the contractor on site, or need to go across the property, and so hopefully there won't be any negative confrontations at that point. So we'll work through whatever we need to. But Arcabolano is the business that's on that property, and we talked with the owners, and I'm sorry, I forget their last name. Mr. and Mrs. But they're the owners of the business, and they're on site, so.
We've had multiple meetings with them. And like I said, I just feel that when construction starts, there's a tractor trailer sitting there and there's some vehicles that usually park there in that parking lot, but we'll see when that time comes, what happens.
It really shouldn't take a whole lot of time to get, that's the upper end of the project. So the project will be, I'm assuming, I've never done contracting work, but, start at the low end and work your way up. So they're at the high end, so they'll know it's coming. And we hopefully have time to make arrangements. And it shouldn't, once they're there, assuming the weather's good, it shouldn't take very long to get across their property. It should be pretty quick and easy, but we'll see.
Hey, any other old business with any sort? New business, sanitary sewer treehouse discussion.
Matt has gotten a revised agreement, I guess you'd call it. And I guess you guys all have copies of it at this point. We know that Treehouse is working through the process of designing their pretreatment system. We know that they've been in to talk to our planning and zoning folks about what they're going to need to do as far as building an addition onto the property to house a portion of that pretreatment system. The approach at this point is that they want to do sort of an initial cleaning of the pipe that's involved in the system. And then once the pretreatment system is in place, sort of do a final cleaning at that point. So it'd be a two-stage process to get it all done, which I think, given the time that it's going to take to get the pretreatment system all installed and operating, it makes sense to approach it that way. I don't think the agreement's, I haven't heard from Matt that he wants the authority to act on the agreement yet.
I think in his email, he stated hopefully act on it at the August meeting. Just read through it. If you have any concerns, we have time to make adjustments to it. But yeah, I think this will take care of a lot of concern that we have of backup and overflow. And then the official agreement will take place after the building's established, the final cleaning, and then I think it's a yearly inspection then after that. So this is just a standalone agreement to get in there. I didn't see what they're putting in yet. I know they're still designing something.
It's some sort of filtering and pH type adjustment process based upon their large vats that they have for their baking process.
Yeah, the beneficial purpose from our perspective is that it should keep the solids that have been going down into our system and clogging things up, should keep those out. From the city's perspective, I think from a treatment perspective, there were some pH issues that Matt alluded to, so they need to get it closer to neutral before it's discharged.
It's pretty sizable project for them. They're putting a building addition on. They're looking at that. So it's going to be a sizable project for them, which is good on our part, as long as it works.
Yeah, it'll help.
Yeah. So this will probably be on the agenda for the August meeting for action. As long as if you read through it, have any concerns, just email them in. We'll get them to Matt Crean and take care of that.
Okay. Moving on, borrowing discussion.
I think we kind of put this on there, after having looked at at Matt's report last month and indicating that with the projects that are planned, the available funds are going to be depleted. So it's not imminent, but it's something that we think the authority ought to start thinking about. We did have, I know I'm sort of jumping the gun here, we did have partners meeting yesterday, and one of the new things on their list of capital projects was a major treatment plant expansion project, which they tentatively estimated would be 2024 to 2026, somewhere in that time frame. So a lot of these other projects are certainly sooner than that, but there's going to be a really big expense coming in 4 years or so.
And we just got updated capital improvement numbers at the meeting yesterday, so next month's meeting, I'll have those updated here on the construction fund estimates. One of the other expenses that they're running into is they have a project for a new secondary clarifier that's being added to the plant to help with flow through the plant and treatment of that. Where they're intending to put it, through their geotechnical investigations, they found an old quarry that was then used and turned into a dump covered over. So they're now doing additional testing and trying to determine where to best place that so it doesn't sink. On the other hand, there's a lot of rock that are up in that area, so we have the cost estimated, the cost of rock excavation. So they were looking at least about $1 million.
Yeah, I think we'd have to do a little bit of analysis to take a look at the numbers from yesterday. And so maybe we can have a more productive discussion with you next month. But, timing these things is always a real challenge to figure out. You don't really want to borrow it before you need it. So, when is that need coming about? How quickly do these projects developed? It appears anyway, from what I can tell, that borrowing rates are probably going to stay relatively flat. So I don't think there's, it's crystal ball stuff, but I don't think there's necessarily an urgency to try to beat an interest rate increase at this point in time. So we'll do that. We'll take a little more in-depth look at the numbers from the projects and the dates. They did change a few of the dates, the expected time when they would need your dollars for projects. So we'll take a look at that for next month's meeting and have a little more detail for you.
Partners meeting, do you have more to discuss about that?
I was being a little bit of a pain in the tuchus for them. One of the categories, one of the things that we've done for a number of years now is we created an escrow arrangement for what were called special projects, special and emergency projects. And the idea, which I think still makes sense, is that they run into some things that are really, emergencies, and they amount to a capital investment in the system. So it makes sense to use capital dollars, but there's not really time to go through the whole requisition process, get all the partners to have their authorities approval. So they want to move those more quickly. So that's the reason it was set up. And I happened to notice a couple of meetings ago that several of these projects are at least described as repairs. And maybe it's just language, that, if it's a repair, to me, that sounds more like maintenance than a capital investment or an emergency for that matter. So I pushed them on that and they agreed to go back and take a look at the projects and either better describe them as to what they really are. And maybe they're not really repairs, they're really other things that fit the category, or change them. I mean, for the authority's purpose, if it's a capital project, you pay about 15% of the cost of any capital project down at the treatment plant. If it's maintenance, because of the amount of flow that we put into the system, we pay about 10% of the cost of maintenance. So it's not a huge difference, but I'd rather pay 10 than 15 if it's appropriate. So I pushed them a little on that, hopefully in not too abrasive a way.
Now, on your charts though, to build on that, that's under number 2 on the big sheets. It says building crack masonry repairs. Are they repointing block? Is that actually a cost to go to us? A roof repair? Are they doing a 10 by 10 area, or do they have to replace the whole roof?
My opinion, I don't know. That's the size building.
And that's where I think during the meeting, they said for a roof repair, they're like, well, we're replacing the entire roof. The entire roof. I think that's where it goes with that. What's the description? Is it really replacement or is it repair? When you're just doing a patch job?
Yeah, there's a couple other items we pointed out to them. I mean, they wanted to talk about repaving a parking lot, but there's $80,000 set aside for engineering and survey. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I forget what number that was under, but
Right.
number 9. Yeah, number 9. Yeah, design $80,000 to repave a parking lot. How about put the 80,000 towards the yeah? How about the blacktop? So we didn't know why they needed a survey to pave a parking lot.
Well, these engineers have to get paid to do that.
Fred's not here to pick on you too. Rick might
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, there absolutely are times when you need engineering help. No argument about that. But when you're doing a parking lot paving job, I don't know. It's hard for me to understand.
When I looked at that number, all I saw there was they took 10% of 800,000, but that's all. But again, why they picked 10%, I don't know.
Right. Make the water flow that way. Got enough pavers out there that can design it by themselves.
I mean, with Google Maps these days, I mean, you take a picture of it, you draw a line. We want this done, and hand it to somebody, and they can bid on it. So there's a good bit of surface that they've got out there, but and it's the kind of paving job that's not easy. I mean, you don't just set up and go down a road. You've got a lot of.
I think there's probably a lot of hand work.
Yeah.
Going into tanks and structures. There's obviously places you get the paving machine in. Sure. It's material now, but there's others where there's a lot of hand work involved. My guess is they're probably doing some removal of existing asphalt as well.
So the mill and overlay.
Question. Much.
Just so you're aware, there's also there'll be a meeting coming up with the city on their flood projections that they asked for. So we had provided to them a 20-year flow projection. And I got a small text, but there's a, in the engineer's report, there's a table towards the back, just in front of the construction fund. But the city had asked for average, our best projection, average peak flows over the next 20 years that they can use for planning purposes. And you know, previously it was saying planning at the plant, but I heard yesterday they mentioned long-term control planning and some other things that they started throwing in there now. So interesting to see where that goes, what they're ultimately looking to use that for, since they mentioned long-term control planning. But there's, we'll be meeting with them to discuss these numbers and the ultimate intent of the numbers as well. But, you know, I think the staff here put in a lot of work, taking a look at, you know, trying to project development parcels here, where the potential flows, number of BDUs coming out of them. And you can see that overall, based upon those projections, 2042, we're looking at about 4.15 million gallons a day on an average day flow. And we have 4.79 gallons a day capacity. It's still be dependent for each year. City asked that we be as accurate as possible, but we must have a better crystal ball.
Yeah, I think our estimates are as good as they're gonna get, so, you know.
I
That's,
think the only thing I can go back and do is take a look at some of the creek flows, south along the pump station. And see if that's- let's see the average change.
they are, you know, they are still very worthwhile meetings and, you know, I think we all gain by them, so.
Put down worthwhile meeting. So you guys can question some things that you try to. The other new business under sanitary sewer.
So I'll bring one item up, and I think Matt Creeman sent this out earlier, but the legislature and the governor recently enacted Act 43 to 2021. This is going to impact how buildings are performed from multifamily residential properties. and mobile home parks. So right now, I believe those units here within the authority are built on each basis. So if you have an apartment complex, each apartment may be one ADU. Mobile home park, each mobile home there may be one ADU. What this act has changed is that if those facilities are on public, if those facilities have a single water meter on that building, that property owner now has the ability to come back to the authority and say, look at my water records, compare the amount of water that they actually use versus what they're being billed for, and make an adjustment to that. So depending upon the number of properties within the township, that could have an impact on user rates and revenue received.
One I thought of right away was hotels. And it's 0.4 per room. But if they go by water usage and they're only got half the rooms rented out, that water usage is going to, instead of getting 0.4 per room, in 20 rooms, we might only bill for 10 rooms. So it could fluctuate.
I think we need to see like how what the language is in that. If that's really classified as residential.
Right. Yeah. The legislation is limited, it appears to be limited to multifamily residential properties, so a Bentley Ridge property, for example. Could be, an apartment complex. I honestly don't know whether they're on a master meter for their water or if they're metered separately. I don't know how that's set up with them, but we did contemplate earlier this year, well, it was late last year, I guess. I talked a little bit with Adrian at HRG about doing a rate study to see whether our rates are appropriate and fair to all categories of users. One of the challenges that we've got is that we've got a lot of places that are sewered that don't have public water. So they're on their own well. So there's really no way to easily try to match their water consumption with the sewer rate. So that's been a challenge to having a different rate structure for everybody in the system. But that might be something we want to consider for next year to do a rate analysis and
I think just looking at this here, it's, if a property owner requests that, there's a 5-year period of time. It's not something to come back.
unfortunately, this was one of the this was a particular legislator who's been working at this for a number of years because he owns a mobile home park, basically, and has been arguing with that local sewer authority about how much he's billed, and so pursued legislation that would help his individual cause and convince enough other legislators that it made sense. So that's how we get some of our laws. It does happen.
In our maintenance ordinance also is we maintain apartment units, 3 apartments and less. So if they request a water meter, that makes them a business, I guess. Could our maintenance stop on that? It's, yeah, it all depends what's all in there.
Okay, stormwater, Amtrak fee.
So we received this letter. I believe you all have a copy of it. Essentially, Amtrak making the same argument that PennDOT made for not wanting to pay the stormwater fees. So I did forward that on to Matt Cream, and he's going to be following up with the attorney that crafted that letter. It's possible that both PennDOT and Amtrak would want to go through an appeal process, which was set up as part of the stormwater fee arrangement. So if there are appeals, they would come to you to listen to and make a decision. So if it seems to be headed that way, we will give you warning. Yeah, I really think that argument is just wrong. And Matt has said that as well. It's the authority doesn't have the ability to tax anything. So I don't see how you argue that. And so I think, quite honestly, what this comes down to ultimately is going to be a question of intergovernmental cooperation.
Considered part of government. I mean, I know they fund them, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah, that's a fair question. I don't know that I can answer it, but it's all federally funded. So,
For most governments and a lot, I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of things that that could apply to as well. And the amount that we billed Amtrak, just because of the level of information we had in the GIS system, didn't cover all of the ballast area on their property. So it really should be updated. We should be billing more, but it was just limited because of the GIS info we had. It's just limited to the tracks. So
Maybe they woke a sleeping giant.
yeah. So I mean, obviously Matt's going to have to guide you through this process to a conclusion.
any other new business under stormwater? Business.
Did you want to say anything about our event?
Down behind Tennyson Avenue, they're city properties, but we have a main line that runs down there right before the Tennyson Avenue meter pit. A contractor took the top of our 18-inch, 21-inch main off. The one, remember years ago, it collapsed in the field there, and then we decided when you paid to have all that line reline, well, that was on that section where the liner was in. We ended up fixing it. There was a missed one call on our part, so it is our bill. It was our problem to fix. We got it fixed the next day. We got pumps in there yet today. For tomorrow, Mr. Rehab's coming in and putting a spot liner in to repair that pipe. It's going to be a hefty bill, which is coming out of the township fund, maintenance fund, since it is maintenance to the collection system. It's not an authority price tag there. It's township, but wasn't too happy. I'm just going to leave it at that. But
Yeah, I mean, the guys did a great job, and Charlie led them through, getting it repaired and taking care of once the problem was there. It seemed to snowball on itself because just one thing after another that ultimately one of the plugs that was used to isolate the area ended up going down the line when they released the air and couldn't find it and ended up down at the Conestoga
Conestoga Garden Pump Station,
Gardens pump station, and
about 2 miles away.
had to fish it out of the wet well down there. So it was a long day.
Very, very concerned because our line goes underneath the Conestoga River at one point and makes a 90-degree bend. So my concern was, did we have flow on either side of the Conestoga? By the time they got to the one manhole, one of the technicians from the city called me. I was running 3 phones and radios and computers, and he called me, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "I got it." It's like,
Yeah, it was a big relief.
it was bad. It got stuck under the Conestoga River. We'd still be down there.
Big was it?
Township staff. There was a one call put in, and the one call at the bottom of it stated special attention, East Lampeter, to mark your sewer line to the rear of the properties. Well, the guys were like, it's all city property. They didn't read at the bottom that they're tying in the rear of the building. So not sure the final price tag yet, but for about 6 green flags to the cost of what it's going to cost us for this final repair is astronomical.
I guess the main story that I wanted to convey is that your system is repaired. It's back to the way it should be, and it's working.
Hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
It worked out. it all worked out. The guys did a great job repairing it, sweating, and yeah, we grinded through it. We got it.
Any other business?